Great to see you all here. I like to talk to.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Unitarian Congregation of Mendon and Uxbridge with Reverend Patricia Hatch. Today's prelude will be A Maiden Voyage by Herbie Hancock.
Welcome again to the Unitarian Congregation of Mendon and Uxbridge. It's so good to gather together today again. Welcome to you if you are feeling joyous this morning, or welcome to you if your heart is feeling heavy this morning, or a little of both. Let our worship begin. Our opening words this morning are by Joan Javier Duval. Out of the depths unknown, the spark of life ignites, and we are born. We enter a world, a universe, not of our making. Our lives unfold in mystery and wonder. Questions abound for which there are no definite answers. And so we gather in community to seek in one another assurance and recognition, compassion, and strength. We gather in community to be reminded of what is most ultimate and what is most sacred. In this spirit of searching and of reverence, let us worship together this morning. We are going to have our opening hymn next. That will be number 389. It's called Gathered Here. I invite you to rise in body or spirit, and I'll turn it over to Matt.
So today we're going to try this out as a round. All right, so how we're going to do this today, I'm going to be singing up toward to the point, the second time it says gathered here in one strong body. All right, this will be the beginning of our second line. And because we have 9 people here today, all right, we'll start with, you're going to be my first victims. I'm going to have a Ken, all right, and my first group. My second group will be in the back, and we'll end off with my third group over here. And you guys will start at the end where it says gathered here in the struggle and the power. All right, you will begin from the beginning. All right, so I will be saying gathered here in the mystery of the hour. My first group will begin on that second line as I go into you. I'm sorry. You will start again on the first line while I go into the second line. All right, and then by the time we get to the third, gathered here in the struggle and the power, our next group will also begin, and we'll go around like that. See how it starts out. Mm-hmm. And Patricia, hopefully, we'll get you a hymnal, and you're going to do this along with me. Right. There you go.
Yeah, I can find it. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty, try this out. Now, for pitches for everybody, because I do not have a high voice. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
See all this.
All right, just wanted to let you hear the melody. We're going to try this out right now. All right, always better be prepared. Gathered here in the mystery and the hour and Gathered here in the mystery and the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here. Struggle of the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here. Struggle of the power, Spirit draw near. Spirit draw near. Have to work on training everybody. Thank you everybody for giving it a shot.
Yeah, thank you. We're trying a lot of new things. We're also tinkering with the order of service elements, so we tried the hymn earlier this morning. If you have thoughts about how you think the order of service flows best and we'd like to try it some different ways, feel free to let me know. We don't have an official worship committee, but I'd love to hear your thoughts if you have ideas, because we're just trying to make this better all the time. I would now like to invite Sonia to come forward and light our chalice this morning, followed by our Advent candles. The chalice lighting words are by Julianne Lepp. We seek our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be open to unexpected answers. May the light of our chalice remind us that this is a community of warmth, of wisdom, and welcoming of multiple truths. And we are also lighting our Advent candles this morning. This is the third Sunday of Advent. We are lighting the first candle for hope, the second candle for peace, and the third candle for joy. This is the Joy Sunday. Thank you, Sonia. And now I invite us to say the unison affirmation of this congregation together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We have also moved the candles of joy and concern earlier in the service, again, as we are focusing on the in-person worship experience. So we will now have those candles of joy and concern. I invite you to come forward. You can take the mic if you like so people can hear you better. Introduce yourself and light a candle. The candles are over on this table from the chalice. And share what it is you would like the congregation to know and to carry with you or celebrate with you. Is there anyone who would like to come forward and light a candle today? Somehow I knew Matthew would have one.
All right. So this is for a great wrap-up this week. A lot of my students just finished up their finals, right, coming to the Christmas vacation. So very proud of all of them for their hard work. So here's to all those great guys. That's really good work. All right. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I'm just lighting a candle of joy that all 3 kids are home. Picked up Sammy yesterday from Philly.
Yay, all 3 kids are home.
Candle from us at joy.
What was that?
For the bakers, we were in the Little Italy in the Bronx yesterday, and I found some fun Italian.
Oh, wow.
This is for the horrific tornadoes that happened
Yeah.
in Kentucky. Horrific incident.
Yeah.
So to everybody that's dealing with that right now, and the damages that still have to be
Right. For the horrific tornadoes and all those who are suffering.
horrible.
Yeah.
One candle, one joy and one concern, and I'm not quite sure, is it my news to share? Is it just because I learned something about somebody that I care about, should I be sharing that with the world? No. Right? Or when is the time to share that? So, one I hold in my heart, that's a concern. It's about the cancer returns. Is it bad? Who knows? But, yeah. The other is for Leslie Capeman. I don't know if she's on, but she's on Facebook, so that's semi-public, right? that she's feeling good enough that she's back to teaching. So that's a good sign, right? That we miss her and wish that she returned quick.
Yes. Thank you, Peter. We're thinking of you, Leslie, what the second candle was for. Yeah. Is there anyone else? Well, I'll light the final candle for those things that remain unspoken in our hearts and minds. The theme for today's service is mystery, and this morning's story is called The Mystic and the Scientist, and it's part of the Spirit in Practice curriculum the UA put out. Eric Wickstrom wrote this curriculum. I actually messaged him and asked him if he wrote the story or where it came from, and I did not hear back. But anyway, The Mystic and the Scientist. One day, a seeker approached a mystic and asked, does God exist? Allow me to go within for an answer, the mystic replied. After meditating for quite some time, expanding her heart consciousness to embrace the totality of existence, she answered, I do not know what you mean by the word God, but I do know this world is more mysterious and more wonderful than I could ever imagine. I know that you and I are part of something so much larger than our own lives. Perhaps this something larger is what you seek. Then the seeker approached the scientist. Does God exist? He asked the scientist. Let me think, the scientist replied. And so she thought. She thought about the vastness of the universe. 156 billion light years, or something like 936 billion trillion miles in diameter, and the almost immeasurable smallness of a quark. She thought of how the energy of the Big Bang fuels the beating of her own heart. And then she answered, I do not know what you mean by the word God, but I do know that this world is more mysterious and more wonderful than I could ever imagine. I know that you and I are part of something so much larger than our own lives. Perhaps this something larger is what you seek. The seeker then thought to himself. He thought of what he knew and what he did not know. He thought about how he knows what he knows and how he knows he doesn't know what he doesn't know. He thought about his experience of the world and how it is one tiny, extremely tiny fraction of all experience. He thought about his dependence on forces larger than himself, and he thought about the interdependence of all existence. He experienced wonder, and he pondered mystery, and then he knew. He knew in his soul the truth of what both the mystic and the scientist had said, that he was indeed part of something so much larger than his own life. And then, only then, did he think about what he'd call it. It is now time for the offering. So last week I told a joke for the offering. Like I said, we're trying something new. And it seemed like that was well received, so I'm going to try this again. Again, your feedback is appreciated. A Jew, a Catholic, and a UU were discussing how their congregations take collections. The Jewish person said, we draw a circle on the ground, and we throw the money up in the air, and whatever falls down inside the circle, we give that to God. The Catholic said, we draw a circle on the ground, and we throw the money up in the air, and whatever falls outside the circle, we give to God. The UU said, well, we also throw the money up in the air, but we figure that whatever God wants, God will keep. Joking aside, this church depends on your support in order to continue being a welcoming community and a voice for liberal religion in the Mendon, Uxbridge, wider area. And the ushers have been collecting the offering, so thank you for that. And I'll now turn the offertory invitation over to Matt.
Thank you. Today's offertory will be Calypso by John Denver. And this song was dedicated after the ship of the great Jacques Cousteau, who sought to explore the mysteries of the ocean. Now, I think it's only right to share some of the lyrics to this, because this is actually a beautiful song that I was introduced to only a couple weeks ago. So, sail on a dream on a crystal clear ocean, to ride on the crest of the wild raging storm, to work in the services of life and the living, in search of the answers to questions unknown, to be part of the movement and part of the growing, part of the beginning to understand. I, Calypso, so the doodle A. All right, try it out.
Matthew. I'd now like to invite you to read a responsive reading in unison. It is number 441, entitled To Worship by Jacob Trapp. Again, 441 in the back of the hymnal. I will read the first, third, fifth stanzas, and I invite you to read the alternate ones in italics. All of us together. To worship is to stand in awe under a heaven of stars, before a flower, a leaf in the sunlight, or a grain of sand. To worship is to be silent, receptive, before a tree astir with the wind, or the passing shadow of a cloud. To worship is to work with dedication and with skill. It is to pause from work and listen to a strain of music. To worship is to sing with the singing beauty of the earth. It is to listen through a storm to the still small voice within. Worship is a loneliness seeking communion. It is a thirsty land crying out for rain. Worship is kindred fire within our hearts. It moves through deeds of kindness and through acts of love. Worship is the mystery within us, reaching out to the mystery beyond. It is an inarticulate silence, yearning to speak. It is the window of the moment, open to the sky of the eternal. Thank you. I now invite you into a time of meditation, and this meditation has 3 parts. I have words from Rebecca Parker regarding the winter solstice. And then I will play my singing bowl, and I invite you to continue in that spirit of prayer and meditation, and be very present to the sound of the singing bowl, to your own self, to the community with you, and to just experience peace. And then we will sing Spirit of Life, number 123, together. The words from Rebecca Parker. Let there be a season when holiness is heard and the splendor of living is revealed. Stunned to stillness by beauty, we remember who we are and why we are here. There are inexplicable mysteries. We are not alone. In the universe, there moves a wild one whose gestures alter the earth's axis toward love. In the immense darkness, everything spins with joy. The cosmos enfolds us. We are caught in a web of stars, cradled in a swaying embrace, rocked by the holy night. Babes of the universe. Let this be the time we wake to life, like spring wakes, in these moments before the winter solstice. Let us wake to the mysteries of life. Let us celebrate life with the breaths we take, with the thoughts we think, with the words we say, with the actions we do. Let us be peacemakers, and let us experience peace. and more peace. I'd like to share with you a reading. It is a poem called Of Course by Janet Hutchinson. Of course I want the truth, but here's the rub. Truth doesn't sit around still as a rock. It breathes and flows and turns inside out. Ever see a lion in a cage? He paces and glowers. That must be how God feels, locked in our little religions. Look how big the sky is, the deep distances between stars. Little speck, that's you. Laughable speck, that's me. How could we contain the truth of all that overwhelming light? Our truth is just a pinprick in mystery's velvet curtain. Even so, see how we struggle to fix an eyeball to that. Peep show's tiny window. When I was a child, I had a succession of guinea pigs. They lived in cardboard boxes filled with shavings in our farm kitchen. One time, I had a guinea pig that was very sick. And so we put a lamp above the cardboard box where the guinea pig was in order to keep her warm. For those who just came back in, I had a bunch of guinea pigs when I was a child, and we kept them in cardboard boxes in the kitchen with shavings. And one guinea pig was very sick, and so we put a lamp above the box in order to keep her warm. And we hoped that the guinea pig would find that warmth comforting. So my older sister and I needed to leave the house one day, and we were the last ones at home, and we decided that we should turn off that lamp while we were gone, as it could be a fire hazard to have that light so close to the cardboard box with no one home. So we turned off that lamp, and I had a look at the guinea pig, and we left the house, and we came back a few hours later. No one had been home in the time between when we had left and when we came back. And I knew that we had turned off that light because my sister said, this really could be a fire hazard, having this desk lamp right next to the cardboard box. So anyway, we arrived, sadly, to find the guinea pig had died in the time that we were gone. But the light was on. This is a true story. The light was on, and no one had been home in between, and I never have understood that mystery. Some mysteries in life can't be solved, This story about my guinea pig and the light still almost gives me shivers some decades later. We all live in the midst of mystery every moment of our lives. Some are small personal mysteries, like what happened to my guinea pig's light that time. Others are big existential questions that all humans share. Most of the time, we're distracted by all the things we need to do and the things we want to do. Most of the time, we're not pondering great mysteries. We're doing all the daily things we need to do. Sometimes, however, in quiet moments, we may all have thoughts of the vast unknowns surrounding our lives. What is the meaning of life? Is there a God? Where do we go when we die? Those are some of the big questions, but there are many more. We also don't know if there is life on other planets. Too bad Tim is not here today, because he suggested I mention that question in some sermon. But I'll have to tell him I preached on that. Tim, Marge's partner. And we don't even know the answers to smaller questions. We don't know what the weather will be next week. We don't even know what tomorrow will bring. Or even an hour from now. We don't know what's going to happen. We can know some things. Some things we can test with the scientific method by testing theories with experiment and measurement. Humans have learned the basic laws of physics on our earthly home. However, even the things we have learned open up more unanswered questions. Take quantum physics, for instance. What scientists know leads to many more unknowns, many more questions. It seems like we'll never have all the questions answered. And there are some things we cannot know for sure because we can't create an experiment in a lab in order to verify them, which is why the very widely accepted Big Bang theory about the creation of the universe remains a theory. We can't replicate it. Chet Ramo, professor of physics and astronomy and an author, I think he used to write for the Boston Globe as a science writer. Anyhow, in a book he wrote, "All that we know now and forever, all scientific knowledge that we have of this world or will ever have is an island in the sea of mystery. We live in our partial knowledge as the Dutch live on polders claimed from the sea. We dike and fill, we dredge up soil from the bed of mystery, and we build ourselves room to grow. And still, mystery surrounds us. It laps at our shores. It permeates the land. Scratch the surface of knowledge, and mystery bubbles up like a spring. Knowledge is an island in a sea of mystery." We Unitarian Universalists affirm that the living tradition we share draws from many sources, including the direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces that create and uphold life. How can we thrive while living in the midst of all we do not know? Poet Laura Martin describes a way of living in the midst of everything we miss. Words from Laura. "When you were not looking, the dragonfly hovered over the reed. When you were not looking, a flower opened over the water. A man waited for the one walking behind him. When you were not looking, there was a flash of wings lifting, a hot spin of summer colors in a garden. Then the night notes drawn out and dropped like an offering. So much of the world you will miss, and this too is a gift." Let the way small creatures know how to tuck home be a comfort. Let all this happening without you be a comfort. And in the places you get to look, let yourself see it all. The reed, the water, the lifted wings, yourself. Laura suggests we take comfort in the fact that so much happens without us doing anything or even knowing about it. Fascinating thought. We can take comfort from all the things that happen without our involvement or knowledge. We're not responsible for the universe. And Laura adds that with a spirit of humility and acceptance, it can free us to focus on what we can see and what we can experience, and be in awe of all the rest. We can be grateful for our bodies that work so hard keeping us alive by all the automatic processes. Our hearts keep beating and our blood keeps flowing. Our lungs keep filling with air. Our white blood cells keep working to protect us, and so much more. Most of us don't even fully understand how our bodies continually work to keep us healthy as possible and alive. However, we can be grateful. We can also accept that we do not fully understand our own existence. A popular UU chant that's in the Teal UU hymnal supplement says that life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. We can approach existential questions with curiosity, but not certainty. There are some who need to be certain, whether that is with a religious belief or a dogmatic atheism. We can sometimes find peace when we accept what we do not know, and will most likely not know the answers to everything in our lifetime. When confronted with vast mystery, we can keep open. We can keep our minds open to learn, even while knowing our knowledge will always only be partial. And even close to home, we probably don't even know much about our neighbors. Unless we're close friends with our neighbors, we may not even know their names, or we might know their names and a few facts about them, but we don't really know how they live their lives or what makes them tick. Maybe we know when they come home from work or when they turn their lights on late at night, but we really don't know very much at all about most of our neighbors, I think. And if we walk the same route in our neighborhood every day, we'll probably miss more than we see. Even if we walk it every day. Have you had that experience that when you walk somewhere you know well, that you see things you never noticed before? If you're paying attention, every time you walk that regular walk, you can see new things. Some things are new because things always change, but some things you just never noticed, and for whatever reason, your eye is directed, or your other senses are directed to that particular thing that day. There's so much we miss. And even our families. Of course, we know our families much better than our neighbors. However, there are things we might be surprised to learn about our family members. Those who have been married 50 years tell me that there are still things they discover about their spouses. And I remember when I had my first child, I thought I knew everything about her life in the early days. However, even then, I didn't know much about her inner life. How do babies think and experience the world? Maybe scientists can tell us some things, but even scientists don't know. Even I, who was with my child 24 hours a day, I didn't know everything about her life even then. And now, like most parents with young adult children, I am quite certain there are many things I don't know. And hey, who among us really even understands ourselves? I talked about our bodies a moment ago. We don't maybe fully understand how our bodies work, but also, why do we think and feel the way we do? And perhaps we can point to some causes, things that happened to us earlier in our life that affect us. but there are multitudes in each one of us, as Walt Whitman said. How can we live and thrive in the face of so much mystery? One way we can live and thrive among all the mystery, one way is to acknowledge our place in the universe. I remember once I was helping distribute ashes on Ash Wednesday at a Christian church. And the usual words to say when making the sign of the cross with ashes on someone's forehead are, "Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return." A strong reminder of our mortality and earthly origins and destiny. Well, before this service, I learned of a different way to say this expression, to turn the expression on its head by saying, "Remember we are stardust, and to stardust we return." And it is true. Almost all the elements in the human body were made in a star. Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, all the elements that matter for life weren't created at the beginning of time, or maybe they were, but they became part of a star. They were created in the nuclear furnaces of stars. And then the stars exploded, and those elements were recycled. And we now carry those elements within us. We are both stardust and dust. Gaining perspective on our place in the universe can help us grow in both humility and confidence at the same time. Rabbi Simcha Bunim said, "Everyone must have two pockets with a slip of paper in each. When feeling low and discouraged, one ought to reach into the right pocket and find the note that says, 'For my sake was the world created.' When, on the other hand, one feels on top of the world, one ought to reach in the left pocket and pull out the note and contemplate the note that says, 'I am but dust and ashes.'" Another way we can live and thrive in the midst of so much mystery is to focus on the power we do have of choosing our intentions, our outlook, our attitude. We can decide to face life with openness, curiosity, wonder, gratitude, and love. We can appreciate that so much goes on without our awareness, and we can choose to be a force for good in the ways that we can. We can focus on what we're able to do. We are able to be kind. We can find ways to share kindness and love with others. We can seek to be as aware and as grateful as possible for as many moments of our lives as possible. Not just in the great, glorious moments, but in the everyday, mundane moments, to realize we're aware, to realize we're alive, to realize the sun is shining upon us. Even when it's raining, the sun is still there doing its work. Just all the ordinary joys of life. We can grow our awareness, we can grow our wonder and our gratitude. We can savor those joys and the simple joys as well as the big joys. We can help others with our words, with our deeds, with our actions, and with our presence. We can live out our destiny as mortal, sacred beings. I'll close with these winter solstice words by Reverend Victoria Safford. As the darkness deepens now, may we not be afraid, nor be too quick to light our candles and our lights. Companioned in the weeks ahead by old stories and old music, and by the distant light of ancient suns, which the first tellers of those stories saw with all too human eyes. in the crowded clutter and clamor of these busy days, sometimes sad and anxious days, may we make room for mystery and wonder, room for grief and fear and courage and gratitude, room for beauty, room for holy curiosity burning like a star, and room as well for the quiet and resilient hope that waits in the soil of the soul. As the great wheel turns and darkness deepens all around, may we be reminded that the greatest mystery is that we're here at all, here and now and undeniably together. Our greatest work, and all we know for sure, is love. Amen, and blessed be. Thank you, Matthew. Announcements today. So we still have wreaths for sale. And I understand there's even free local delivery available if you would like a wreath. So let us know. Contact me or any board member or send it in on the contact form on the website. We would love to share some wreaths with you and share some joy of that. Also, we're still collecting donations for the Milford Community Meals Program. There's a box in the entryway. You may put your donations in there or even leave them on the church steps. Things like pasta, soup, canned meals, bottles of water, breakfast foods. And this, again, is a collaborative effort among several local churches that supports folks that are food insecure in the greater Milford community. There is an Alliance meeting tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m., and all the women of the church are warmly invited to attend. It is a cookie exchange, so you're also invited to bring 3 dozen cookies and the recipe, and the cookies will be exchanged, and a good time will be had. So 1 p.m. tomorrow. Finally, I want to invite you to another service. Oftentimes when I guest preach on my days off, the service is at the same time as this church's service, so I don't want to take anyone away from here, so I don't invite you to those. But in Burrillville, Rhode Island, at the First Universalist Church, Harrisville, Rhode Island, they have asked me to lead the Christmas service this Friday, December 17th at 7 p.m. I used to be a regular guest preacher there about a decade or so ago, and it's right near where a few of our parishioners live, and so it's wonderful. And that's at 7 p.m. on Friday, so I invite you to come out for that if you like. They have a beautiful chandelier with real candles that they light only for the Christmas Eve service. Also, along that note, I want to announce the next few services here. Next week will be a lay-led service with carols and singing and readings to celebrate the winter season, the winter solstice, and the holidays. People will be encouraged to sing, and so please come out for that lay-led service. And then finally, for our services, the Christmas Eve service will be held here in the sanctuary this year at 5 p.m. So at 5 p.m., we think it works better earlier. The more people are apt to come out for early services. And again, it will be like lessons and carols. We will sing carols and have Christmas readings. And we will light candles. And it'll be a very joyous time. So I hope you can all come on Christmas Eve at 5 p.m. right here. Finally, the postlude today will be number 139, Wonders Still the World Shall Witness, after the final elements. And after the postlude, Matt has agreed to play Joy to the World as exit music, because we wanted to start the holiday celebrations a little bit early. So after the postlude, we'll have Joy to the World. You can stay and listen to that, or you can head on up to coffee hour. And now I invite you to rise in body or spirit for the closing hymn and the final elements of the service. The closing hymn is number 226, People Look East.
And you will have a full playthrough before we all will begin.
We'll now extinguish the chalice. We have gathered in love, worshiped in hope, and lifted our hearts in peace. We go now to share these blessings with the world. Please join together in saying the Serenity Prayer, as is the tradition of the congregation. God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And the benediction is words by Hafiz, the Persian poet. Where is the door to God? In the sound of a barking dog, in the ring of a hammer, in the drop of rain, in the face of everyone I see. As we leave today, may we all open ourselves to the many doors inviting us in. Go in peace until we are together again.
Joy to the world. 245.